Hi everyone, how are we getting on? It's Thursday the 15th of February and we're here with the Celtic Way morning briefing. Hello Ryan, how are you?
Things are good. How are you? You all good?
Yes, I'm very happy mate because we're still officially the best team in the country.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think that was going to be the case last night, but I think Ross County's goalkeeper had a bit of a stormer to keep the score down. I seen the stats coming from the game. It was absolutely incredibly one-sided, but he managed to come up with the goods, and Celtic are still top by the skin of their teeth. So yeah, we'll
Ah,
take it going into the weekend.
well clear mate, well clear. We're well clear at the top, I wouldn't worry about that. No, I agree. I mean, I'm joking at the start when I say that because it doesn't really mean a lot to me. I mean, I think if Rangers had gone top last night, I'd be sitting, with the exact same kind of feeling about the whole thing and our chances of winning the league. I don't feel it makes a massive difference. However, I have seen some people talking on social media saying that it was a real missed opportunity for them and a psychological blow. Is there anyone who subscribes to that theory in the live chat at the moment? Let us know. I just think it's just the way things are. For me, it's all about what happens from now on, and it's almost like what's gone before isn't really that important, if at all. It's about the last 13 games. We've both got 13 games to play. Two of those are derbies, and it's about what happens here that will obviously define the season because we quite literally are neck and neck with them.
Yeah, it's a clean slate now from now until the end of the season. I think I read somebody say last night it's a clean slate, 13 games to decide the title. Both teams are on exactly the same, so it's whoever's going to be the better team in the next 13 games that's going to decide the title effectively. So yeah, I'm hoping that Celtic are up for it and they've got the stomach for a title battle because that's certainly what they're in now. They can't look at the past and the fact that they were 7, 8 points clear. The table is what it is. The
Yeah.
table doesn't lie, and they're there because of their own accord or their own shortcomings. So they've got to shake themselves off and just treat every game, both the Scottish Cup games and the league, as Scottish Cup finals. Every game has to be a big game from now until the end of the season. I think now there has to be an emphasis on not just winning, but winning well. They need to start
Yeah.
getting in the mood of hammering teams again rather than just beating them by 1 or 2 goals. Because it seems as if Rangers can do that to opponents. I know it was only 3-1 or 4-1, 4-1 last
Three
night,
one.
3-1, 3-1,
3-1.
but it should have been a lot more. I looked at their shot map from last night. They peppered the goal. I think Ross County's goalkeeper had a bit of a stormer of a game. So if he didn't have that, then I think the goal difference would have been a lot more in their favour last night. But it's up to Celtic now. They've got the firepower. They've got Adam Mida that's scoring goals. I'd like to see him score from open play. They've got Kyogo, who's a goal scorer, Matt O'Reilly, who's a goal scorer. All these players need to now come up trumps and make sure that when Celtic win games and they're comfortable in winning games, that they're showing that in their score line as well. It has to be by 3 or 4 now, from now until the end of the season, if they can do it.
We've not had many like major wins when you think of like the last season and the year before. I mean, off the top of my head, the Aberdeen 6-0 is probably our biggest this season. I can't think of another 5 goal win or even a 4 goal win right now.
The only 4 goal win, I mean, by clearly 4 goals, it wouldn't be against Hibs because that was 4-1, I reckon, back in December. In between that sort of muddle of poor
We beat
performances, there was a
Hearts, we
decent.
thumped Hearts, didn't we, at Tynecastle?
Yeah,
Got
I
four
think the
one.
last sort of convincing victory that Celtic have had was actually 4 games ago against St Mirren at the Smythe Stadium, the 3-0 game, albeit that was with 10 men, and they probably should be scoring more against a team that have 10 men on the pitch. But 3-0 is now looking like the minimum required in games. If Celtic are comfortable, they need to be they need to really be showing their dominance against teams because I think Rangers are going to be scoring goals from now until the end of the season. So it's up to Celtic to match that. Yes, I don't think they have a recognised or bona fide number 9, but they seem to be getting goals from all over the pitch. And it's up to Celtic to do that as well. They've got Kyogo, who's no stranger to scoring goals. You're wanting him to get back to the way that he was, but you're also looking at Palma. You're looking at potentially Maeda chipping in, Matt O'Reilly scoring goals because he's been a bit off form recently with his goal scoring ability, and then other players to chip in as well. You're looking at corners. Can Scales and Novrovsky get headers? Can Welsh get corners in, or get headers in through corners? Looking at any position that Celtic can score from, that they can use to their advantage, because I think goal difference may well be important, because I think the last two Celtic Rangers games are going to be close. Wouldn't surprise me if both of them ended up in draws, and this league does go down to the wire with goal difference. You've got to prepare for every single eventuality, and I think in order for Celtic to keep themselves right, they need to be scoring goals.
I mean, it's still unlikely that goal difference is what settles it, because obviously for that to happen, the teams need to be level in points, and like it is still unlikely. But you don't want to be, left final game of the season having lost out in the title due to goal difference, or even something like goals scored or goals conceded. It's happened to us in the past, and those sting a hell of a lot. So yeah, you're spot on. Stephen as well saying we need to start smashing the goals in. I just wonder if, like, obviously, like, the team's main goal is to win the games, and if we win every game, we'll win the league. But I just wonder if that kind of extra thing on the side of, like, you don't just have to win, but you need to score goals. And I'm sure that's a message the players will be getting as well. If not from Brendan Rodgers, I'm sure Callum McGregor and Joe Hart are the kind of people that will be, saying that. I wonder if that kind of added challenge is almost going to focus the minds a little bit. Because I look at Celtic this season, and for me, our issue hasn't been pressure or getting up for the big games. Our issue in the league has been, like, almost taking our eye off the ball sometimes and letting games pass. We're at the stage now where every single match is, could be the difference between winning the league and not winning the league. One off day, against St Mirren or Dundee or St Johnstone or even Livingston down the bottom could be what does for either ourselves or our rivals. So the pressure is there, but like I feel good about pressure. I don't know if they feel good about pressure across the city. I mean, time will tell, but like, I back us in this kind of environment. I love this from Lackwinder Pal saying the Rangers bottle is crashing. Now, I've never spoken about Rangers bottle at all, have I? So I certainly won't be doing it at this stage. Brian McGinty, I just hope that some of the players in this current squad can handle the pressure of 13 cup finals. What about that? I mean, I'm saying that I back us to handle the pressure, but the truth is we don't know about, like, quite a few players like Paulo Bernardo, Palma, players like that. We don't really know.
No, we don't. It's all about getting into that situation. We're going to know very quickly if those players can handle the pressure of being at Celtic and the expectancy to win every game. Probably their record so far this season would say in some games that they haven't been able to handle that due to the drop points that they've had over the season. There's been some games that Celtic really shouldn't have dropped points in, but they still did. You look at the dominating performance against St Johnstone right before the Rangers game. So many chances. Matt O'Reilly had about 3 open goals that he could have scored. He didn't convert any of them, and they dropped points. You look at those 2 defeats to Kilmarnock and Hearts respectively. The Hearts game they deserved to lose because they were absolutely dreadful on the day, but the Kilmarnock game, they were ahead, they were in control. But then that basketball sort of theory of the game going to and fro came back to haunt Celtic, and they were bit by a good Kilmarnock team that are in good form this season. Look at other results. Hibs away, I know that they won their last game away by the skin of their teeth at Easter Road, but they still dropped points with enough in each, even though I think it was James Forrest hit the bar towards the end. There's games that Celtic should have been winning and they should have been squeezing through, and one of those ones, like, you'll talk about the performance later, but you're happy with the win. But unfortunately, in those occasions, you haven't got the win, and you need to talk about the performances because they aren't at the level you probably expect of them. It's performance. I think the two go hand in hand as much as you're like, get the result first, but I think now performance is important too. If you're going to get goals to up that goal difference once again, it's a dereliction of duty, the fact that the goal difference has been cut, because Celtic were so far ahead at one point. The fact that the goals have dried up, I don't know who to blame for that. Do you blame players? Do you blame the manager? Do you blame a mix of the both? But Celtic should be scoring more goals against their opponents. It has been a poor season in that regard by not beating teams more convincingly. And now you're looking at every single home game, probably against lesser opposition before the split, and saying, how many goals can Celtic score against their opponents? Because they need to get back in that. They need to get back in the habit of scoring lots of goals. They did that under Ange Postecoglou. Brendan Rodgers was brought back into the club because of that expansive football that he can play. So it's about time that we see that. and the players subscribe to that and win games by 3, 4, 5 goals. Because I think the side at the other side of the city are going to be doing that. I think they'll be winning games by 3, 4, 5 goals. So it's up to Celtic to match that.
Yeah, and I mean, away from anything else, it would make our kind of nerves much easier as well if Celtic are up in games, because like, I'm telling you, like if we're goalless at half time on Saturday against Kilmarnock, your heart's going to be going. Like it's getting to that point of the season where we're literally neck and neck. And I mean, I'm not saying the next blow is fatal type thing, because I think there are twists and turns to come, but like I really want to be the team who moves ahead next. And I'm not talking about Saturday, I'm talking about like after a match day. I want them to be the ones who slip up next, because I feel if they do, the pressure could, really go on them. Whereas if it's us, they've already got the momentum. I feel like, we might start, doubting ourselves a bit. But at the moment, as we say, level 61 points at the top ourselves and Rangers plus 40 goals. They've lost 2 more games than us. They've actually won 1 more game than us this season, which is not ideal. But it's what happens now. Like you spoke there at the start about the fact we had an 8-point lead, 10-point lead at one stage this season. Looked as if the league was already done at that stage. That's been lost. But like we kind of just all have to forget that. I think like we are where we are, and if we win this league, it's going to be an amazing one to kind of be part of. One in here from Whiskey. A statement win required on Saturday. Killie are a dangerous side though, but we must lay down a marker. I mean, it's a tough match this on Saturday. It's like this is a team who have beaten us this season, and not just once, they've beaten us twice. I think they're 4th in the league. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a good Killie side with dangerous players, and hopefully that last game especially, hopefully is on our players' minds, and they're kind of raring to go, because obviously there's all the other reasons why they should be raring to go, but the fact it's against Killie as well.
Yeah, and it's at home, no plastic pitch as well to worry about. I think that is a factor between the two sides. Not saying it's an excuse for losing 2 games that season, but it is a factor. It is a totally different game when you play in a plastic pitch in regard to a normal pitch. That being said, Celtic Park's pitch at the moment isn't great either, so that's probably a leveller in that regard. They played well the last time, the two sides met. I think I mentioned that yesterday, but they played really well the last time. I think it was I think Palma scored a goal from quite far out. I think that was one of his first home goals, if not his first goal. Yeah, Hatate was immense in that game. It's all about getting back to that level. It'll be an interesting team sheet. It'll be interesting to see if Brendan Rodgers goes with Ida and Kyogo up front again, especially because it's a home game. The past couple of games have been away games, and see if he can adapt that for a home game scenario. If it was me, I probably would play the both of them, because if you're negating any player from getting service, then negate Ida, because Kyogo's the main man and you want him to get more touches of the ball. He get far more touches of the ball than any other game apart from the first game of the season, in that last game against St Mirren. So if you can do that and get him involved and get him touching the ball and even setting up other players, but getting shots off himself, then I think he'll go a long way to getting more goals for the team, because he's a provider as well as a goal scorer. He can do both sides of the game, or both sides of that attacking game. If you can do that and unlock his abilities, then I think Celtic should be fine. But I'm just interested to see what wingers are chosen as well. I think Leila Abada's back in training. I don't know what his scenario is at the moment. I think it's a completely puzzling one. I don't know where his head's at, because it looked as if it was anyone.
He won't start. No, he won't start.
It's one of those ones where, will it do more damage if he's not named on the bench either, or do you put him on the bench and then throw him on with the last 20? I think it's another sideshow that Celtic don't need at this point of the season, and it could potentially mean that he just doesn't feature from now until the conclusion. But it's all about Celtic. It's not about any individual players. They've all got to pull together. I think Palma's back on decent form after that performance on Sunday afternoon. He had a good hand in both of those goals. So I think it'd probably be him on one side and probably Maeda by default on the other side. But I think a lot of the team picks itself at this point in time. You're just looking for these players to step up and show that they're up for this title challenge, because they're definitely in one, and score goals to make sure that title challenge is as easy to obtain as possible. Take the pressure off yourselves and put all the pressure back on Rangers, who are playing the next day.
Yeah, I think as I've said on yesterday's video, I think the crowd will be up for it at Celtic Park on Saturday. I think we're reaching that point of the season, and like I'd love to say I know for sure that Celtic will be up for it as well, but we don't, because that's kind of been our issue this year. You've not really known what to expect. Having said that, I don't know, I do just get a wee feeling that there's just something kind of brewing at the club. You know, Brendan Rodgers was on Celtic TV yesterday, and while there was nothing mind-blowing about what he said, nothing earth-shattering, it was still it was kind of all positive things, and I just got that feeling that he kind of senses there might be something happening, and we're starting to get players back as well. You know, Greg Taylor will be back. I'm pretty sure he'll start the match on Saturday, and obviously, you know, Carter Vickers, Johnson, Hatate aren't far away either. There's maybe a sign last Sunday that Kyogo's, you know, starting to come back to himself, even if he's playing a slightly different role. And Rodgers actually spoke quite positively in that interview about the front two, and he said that first Kyogo goal, he wondered if that would even have been possible had it not been Kyogo playing in that position, because he said Kyogo's hunger to get forward, you maybe wouldn't have seen that in a midfielder. And given the way our midfielders have played, you know, recently, I kind of agree with him, to be honest. Like, Kyogo showed real hunger for that goal that I don't know if, you know, O'Reilly or Bernardo or whoever, Hatate, you know, maybe would have. So I think we'll see that again on Saturday. The wings are still an issue for me. I thought Palma was better on Sunday, but yeah, I'm still not seeing it from him. I'm not seeing that consistency. Dyson Maeda, for me, you know, he's frustrating, but I just love the guy because you always know you're going to get that effort. So he would certainly be in my team. And I think the centre backs, you go again with Welsh and Scales, given how they've done recently.
Yeah, there's a lot of positions that seem to pick themselves. The midfield, with the midfield, because Kyogo's playing in that number 10 role, it effectively is a cut and paste job with McGregor and O'Reilly getting back in. The one thing I do want to see is McGregor McGregor was on form on Sunday. I want to see Matt O'Reilly get back on form. I don't want this new position for Kyogo to hurt O'Reilly, but then again, something has to change in the team, because I don't think O'Reilly's been anywhere near his best over the past 3-4 games. He's influential in this side. He gets goals, he gets assists. His movement is also an issue for opposition players. So I just want to see him get back to what we know he can do, because I think up until now, or up until the past couple of games, I think he was a shoe-in to be Player of the Year, and you want him to continue to keep to that level, getting goals, getting assists, making himself a nuisance for the opponents to track. He's also good defensively, he's good off the ball in terms of pressurising the opponents. And he still does that, but he's just been very quiet recently. And I want to see him get back to his best. He's such a good player. He's much better than what he's shown at the moment. And it's a difficult one to manage as well, because Kyogo's playing in that position that Matt O'Reilly likes to roam in. Does that hurt Matt O'Reilly as a result? I don't know, because it's maybe congesting the area that he has been dominating for most of the season. So it's all about finding that mix. I'm just hoping that, you know, a game against Kilmarnock, a home game, should be a big game. Everybody should be up for it. Players like Matt O'Reilly need to step up to the plate. He's had he'll have 6 days to have recovered from the St Mirren game to this game. Full week to concentrate, get back on the winning saddle, and get firing again, basically, because I think he very well could be the difference between Celtic winning and losing the league. I said that when Atletico Madrid were interested, admittedly, and I don't want to put 2 and 2 together. His form hasn't really been the same since that transfer rumour came about. I'm not saying that's affected him. I'm just saying that's the timeline that I think the club are working with at the moment. He's not been as good since those rumours came about. So he needs to get back to that form that he was shown pre-Atletico Madrid rumour, regardless if that has personally affected him or not.
Yeah, it's always the thing people point to when there's interest like that and a player's form drops off. I must say I question whether that is the reason. I just think he's possibly had, you know, a bit of a drop off. He's been at this really high level basically all season. He is by far the outstanding player in Scotland. I don't think there's anyone even near him, to be honest, this season for any team. So maybe he's just having that little dip and he's going to come again, because I agree with you. He's a very, very important player for us. but we're going to need everyone to contribute, and our real. I think the thing again, and you'll be like this as well, like you lie in bed at night and you think about this title race and you think of the pros and the cons, and well, at least I do. The one of the big pros for me is like we have the best players in the country. I know our squad is filled with like a lot of players who there are question marks about in our recruitment, but we still have, when fit, the best forward in the country by a good bit. He's proven that. We still have, for me, the best captain in the country. Well, of course he is, given what he's won. We have the best midfielder in the country in Rio Hatate when fit. We've got the best centre back in the country in Cameron Carter-Vickers when fit. Obviously,
when
those last two.
That's the
obviously,
big
those last two. Yeah, they've had fitness issues. I accept that, but like that's the spine of the team there when fit, and those are the best players in the country in their position. So that's what I hold on to. Like we do have players who, when they're at the top of their game, like with all due respect to certainly the other 10 teams in the league other than our rivals, you can blow these teams away if they're on their game. So I just hope we're able to get these guys back a good bit before the end of the season and get some momentum together. Just want to rattle through some comments. Mikey boy, hail everyone. Not sure it matters much psychologically at all. This is the game last night, Rangers winning 3-1. They won, and convincingly. It's down to us and how we perform, not them. Over to Brendan Rodgers, Cal McGregor and the rest of the team. I agree with everything you said there, Mikey. Colin McGuinness, I think this is the closest they'll get to us now. We'll get through this difficult patch. Best players will come back from injury and we'll power on. Hearts and Motherwell away will be the biggies. That Hearts game is already looking like a massive one. I was looking at league table. Hearts are only 13 points off ourselves and Rangers. Like they are, if they'd had a better start to the season, like genuinely, see if they'd have picked up, if they were in if they get 6 more points at the start of the season, they'd be on 55 now, and they would not be far off title race talk. Like their form over the last few months must be crazy. Hearts,
yeah, out with that form at the start of the season, yeah, they would have been right up there. And to be fair to him, I know he used to play for Rangers, but Stephen Naismith has really turned it round at Hearts.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is down to probably Lauren Shankland, who is banging in the goals for their team, and you expected him to do so, but he's doing so at an even greater rate this season. He's shown that he's more than just maybe an average Scottish Premiership striker. He's one of the best Premiership strikers out there with Miovski and Kyogo, certainly. But that is a difficult game. It's a completely different game to the one that Celtic faced earlier on in the season, the one that Palmer got that lovely assist to Matt O'Reilly over the head.
That's going to be a huge game at the time.
It's a do or die game. I think it's a do or die game, very much so. It's one of those games that it's very much a banana peel game, that if you lose that or drop points, then the onus would very much be on Rangers to go and win the league, I would say. But we've seen Celtic go to Tynecastle before in need of a win, in need of a victory, and come up trumps. You look at Ange Postecoglou's first season at the club. Giacomakis stood up and he was counted for with that the back heel sort of goal. I've watched that back quite a few times since then, and it's still a stunning goal. Hatate scored on his debut. I think that was before the Rangers game, but it was part of that real pressure point where Celtic knew what they had to do. They need to win every game going up into that Celtic Rangers game, which is what they're going to need to do for the next game at Ibrox. But yeah, that's a very, very different prospect to what it was previously. And the fact that in the last time the two sides met, Hearts beat Celtic and convincingly as well. So there's revenge on the cards. There's a bit too much revenge in the cards when it comes to other teams, and talking about that just shows you that Celtic haven't been firing on all cylinders for parts of the season. But then again, it's an added motivation. It's something that Celtic can atone for and put right, hopefully. And you're hoping that Rangers can maybe drop points along the way, because even though they won 3-1 last night, they still conceded a goal. Shows that there are defensive fragilities in that team, ones that Celtic can exploit when they play against them, one that other teams can exploit. There's good operators, there's good striking operators in this league that can hurt any team. So you're not looking to call upon them, but you're hoping that they do their job when they face off against Rangers to score goals against the opposition and make it as difficult as possible. Even if they win games, as long as they're winning them by 1 or 2 and the other teams are getting in with a couple of goals and Celtic are winning games convincingly, then that can be a psychological boost as well. But you're already feeling that this season is going into the nitty gritty now. It feels really tight between the two sides. It feels like a proper title race, and you can either fear this or anticipate this and enjoy this. And I'm going to choose to go for the latter.
You can choose that, but you might get down the line and absolutely hate it. We
don't know the day of the Celtic Rangers game at Ibrox, I'll be spewing basically. But up until then, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, hopefully you're not spewing it full time of that one. Right, we've got Lanky talking about that. Actually, the next derby is going to be the title decider, and if it's true about us getting a 2,750 allocation, that will give the team a big boost with the atmosphere. We don't know if that's true, Lanky, but we'll have to wait and see. My ball trying to time to embrace the journey, time to get right behind the boys. Thomas saying we need to be relentless. That is a key word at this stage. No let up. Question there: when is Hatate due back? What was the report there? Because we got a Carter Vickers and a Johnson thing. We didn't get Hatate, did we?
Probably about another month, I would say, before Hatate's back, because he got injured at the Asia Cup, and they said it was like 6 to 8 weeks that he would be out for. So. The Asia Cup only stopped about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So, and Japan got into certainly the quarter-final stage, I believe. So, it'll be about 6 to 8 weeks. But, I'm kind of counting down the days until he returns, because I think he's, as I said in yesterday's podcast, he's a transformational midfielder. He's the glue that, along with McGregor's the glue that sticks the whole team together, but I think he's the defence to the attack. He is the sort of regulator between the two, and when he's back, you automatically feel a bit more confident. But then again, you've got to when he comes back, you've got to put it down to form as well. Can he get up to that form? It's not about being up for the title races. Is he physically able to join a title race? He showed that he could do it in parts when he first joined the club, because he'd already played a full season, and then he came in to play that half a season. But they might need to manage his game time. Might be one of these players that you can bring on for the last half an hour to influence things. But even having him in that team sheet, whether he's on the starting lineup or the bench, he can make such a difference for the team's prospects, because he's just magic on the ball.
Yeah, I miss seeing him. We've barely seen him this season as well. It's just been such a stop-start, wasted campaign for him. Obviously, it's not his fault. He's been getting injured, but I think he's had like 3 or 4 injuries back to back. It's been a frustrating one. John saying this is where you need Brendan Rodgers to show his worth. He knows how to win. That's another pro that's in my mind when I'm lying in bed thinking of reasons why we might win this league. So we had Abada stuff. You've mentioned it already. Report suggesting that he's back in training. I'm guessing that his availability and participation at the weekend will be down to how he shows up in training and what Brendan Rodgers, makes of his attitude, because it seems like, it's his attitude that's the issue here. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, I don't think he actually said that, but he basically said he's not himself, which to me suggests that, it's an attitude issue, and it certainly, would seem to be the case having watched him come on in matches. So I guess we'll find out if he's in the squad at the weekend. Then I'm guessing he'll have done something to prove his worth, and if not, that's when I would kind of be questioning if we'll see him again.
Yeah, I think we'll know on Saturday where the cards will lie, or where the setup of the team going forward. I think it's just whether they find a temporary solution just now. I don't know what leagues are still open. I don't know if the MLS is still open for moves. I don't know if you'd be interested in that sort of move stateside, or whether he just bides his time until the summer. I think he will be gone either now or in the summer. I think that has reached its natural conclusion, or maybe unnatural given the situation as to why he would find himself unsettled at the club. But I don't completely blame it on him, but he's got to own it at the same time. He's got to own this situation. It's he's not the only player to be going through stuff like this. There are other players that are affected by this in other parts of the world. Yes, I know that the relationship between the fans and the players, I don't want to go in too much to that sort of situation, but
the Celtic fans are still behind him. That's the bottom line here, no matter what people are saying. So
yeah, it is. it's an awkward sideshow, as I said earlier on in the podcast. It's a sideshow that Celtic just do not need at this point of the season. Everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction. And for me, when a guy just walks off the pitch at the end of the game, I understand why he doesn't want to applaud the fans, give them the flag, etc., etc. It just causes a divide between the player and the other players and the supporters, and there cannot be a divide at this point in the season. Everybody needs to be in the one united front to get Celtic to where they need to be, which is the title in the Scottish Cup double. If there is that divide still, if he's not in that same mindset that the rest of the players have, and that he's not locked in, then I don't think Celtic can afford to have him in the starting lineup or the bench. I think they've got to remove him from that scenario and that situation unless he's fit and ready and mentally ready to make an impact between now and the end of the season. No denying that Liel Abada can be a good player. It's just he's better off not being around the team than performances like Hibs away, where it wasn't. I'm not going to go as far to say it was self-sabotage from the player in order for Celtic to lose a game or drop points, but it doesn't help any conspiracy theorists that would think that way due to the way that he played. He couldn't do anything right on the night. He was giving the ball away, giving away silly fouls, looking at a shell of himself. And if he's not in the right mental condition to play for Celtic, then he should be nowhere near the team. That is basically the long and short of it.
Well, I'm just happy, even away from Abada, that Rodgers has taken him out of that, because that tells me that kind of everything's all right with Rodgers still, and like he's still in control of what he's doing. As daft as that may sound, I was pleased when I saw that. I'm pleased he didn't just allow that situation to continue. I'm glad he's taken action. He's obviously done that with a few players this season, obviously for different reasons. Hatate at the start of the season, Bernabe at one stage when he kind of missed a meeting or something early on in pre-season. So I kind of like it when Rodgers does that. He usually gets a good reaction from it because he kind of brings him out and brings him back in. I wonder if he'll do the same with Abada, but then the other part of me's going, is this just too far gone at this stage? But I reiterate, the Celtic support, not to blame here, Celtic support have been brilliant with Liel Abada personally. I actually think we've been outstanding, the reception he's been getting. And I actually personally feel we deserve a wee bit more back from the player, but I'm sure he'll have his own thoughts. Maestro, just final comment, saying games against them won't decide this season. It's the lesser teams and consistency.
I think they will now. I think they will now.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the games we've dropped points in this season, all 6 matches haven't been against our rivals, but with 2 of the final 13 going, they're certainly going to be interesting. But then again, we could win one and they could win one, and then you're just left back at the same place. So that will only really matter if a team wins one and draws one, which hopefully could be us. Amazing if we won all 4 derbies against them in the league and went on to win the league. Yeah, 4,
potentially 5 if the 2 teams meet in the Scottish Cup, which very well could be the case in the semi-final, the final, if both teams get through, of course. Celtic have a bit of an easier draw on paper than Rangers. Hibs away, although you would expect them to come through that. But yeah, it would be unheard of for Celtic to win the 4 derbies in the league and still not capture the title. If that was the case, then I think there would need to be an inquest. If you get 12 points over 12 direct points over your nearest rivals and you still don't win the league, you're like, what has happened out with those derby games that have allowed that sort of scenario to happen? As much as the other games are important, those games are so vitally important, because they're the ones that if you win a game, they'll get no points and you'll get the free. I know I'm kind of doing football 101 here once again, but they are vitally important, especially that game at home towards the end of the season. If the league is on a knife edge, it all depends on if the league is still close between the 2 sides. That could be a title decider. That could be one of those games where if Celtic win, then they could really take it out of Rangers' reach, or the other way about, which is unthinkable at this moment in time, but very much a plausible scenario. So yeah, I think everybody just got to get it with the fact that it is a title race. They've all got to stomach it. The players have got to stomach it. The manager certainly seems to want it as well. He'll feed off of that. We're already seeing certain instances of box office Brendan returning in the press box and in the press conferences as well. But yeah, everybody needs to be pulling in the one direction, in the same direction, and getting Celtic back to where they need to be, which is clear at the top of the table and winning that domestic cup as well.
Yes, that's where we're at. Kilmarnock this Saturday, Celtic Park. Be there or be square. Hopefully we get 3 points and can move ahead at the top. Just before we go, video brought to you by MPH Group and Navien. MPH are Scotland's award-winning, family-run, all-trades specialist. I thought I'd slow it down today because I usually rattle through that. They cover mainland Scotland and they have a Navien Boiler Promotion. They've got a free Navien Internet Controller as part of that, flexible finance options and much more, so that you can make the smart move and sign up with MPH Group and Navien. Thanks to them for sponsoring this video. Thanks for your time, Ryan. Do you have something else to say?
Yeah, just quickly, just everybody at the bottom of the screen, if you haven't done so already, please implore you to subscribe to the Celtic Way website. £4 for 4 months, £18 for a year. We have been upping the content recently, so please, if you are interested in Celtic journalism, Celtic-based journalism by Celtic fans for Celtic fans, then visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And if you want to support us even more, please press that subscribe button on YouTube, completely free of charge. You'll get notifications as to when Hamish, Tony and I go live, when we do pre-recorded videos with pre-match, post-match, press conference videos. Please press that subscribe button. We're at 9.2k. We're going for 10k before probably April, May. So if we can get round about that area, then we would really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys. Please subscribe to the website and support us in what we do. We would really appreciate it. We can't continue to do these videos without the support of the website. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe.
Excellent. Thanks very much, everyone, for being part of this video. I won't be with you tomorrow, but the guys will be to look ahead to the Kilmarnock match.